The letter arrived on a Monday morning, tucked neatly into my mailbox as if it were some kind of invitation. But it wasn't an invitation. It was a demand. The HOA was ordering me to remove my chicken coop immediately or face daily fines of $500. What they didn't know was that those chickens weren't just pets. They were the lifeline of the entire town's breakfast tables. And when the mayor himself showed up at my door a week later, the HOA realized just how badly they had screwed up. I've lived on my property for 12 years. A small ranch-style home with just over an acre of land, enough space to stretch my legs and raise a few animals. Out back, just past the oak tree, I built a sturdy little chicken coop. I started with 6 hens and a rooster. Over time, I grew the flock to 2 dozen. They weren't noisy, they weren't messy, and every morning those birds produced some of the freshest, golden-yolked eggs you've ever tasted. At first, it was just for me and my family. But soon, the neighbors noticed. 1 carton turned into 5. 5 turned into 20. Before I knew it, my little hobby had become a small business. I wasn't getting rich off it, but the town depended on me. The local diner bought my eggs. The elementary school cafeteria bought my eggs. The mayor himself ordered 3 cartons a week, swearing they were the only eggs his wife would cook with. So, when that HOA notice showed up, I thought it had to be a mistake. The letter claimed, per section 14.2, no livestock is permitted within HOA limits. Remove all chickens immediately. Livestock, that's what they call my flock. I knew exactly who was behind it. Karen. She lived 2 houses down, retired early, spent her days patrolling the neighborhood, and treated the HOA bylaws like they were scripture. She complained before about my pickup truck being too loud, about my mailbox being too rustic, even about the color of my garden shed. But this time, she went too far. At first, I tried reasoning. I showed up to the next HOA board meeting with a folder of documents, permits from the county, health inspection clearances, even testimonials from neighbors. When I stood up to speak, Karen cut me off. "This is a residential community, not a farm," she sneered. "Chickens attract pests, diseases, and noise. They're a nuisance. I move that the board enforce immediate removal." The board voted 3-2 in her favor. Just like that, my chickens, my livelihood, were deemed illegal. The next morning, I found a bright orange violation notice stapled to my fence. $500 in daily fines would start in 48 hours. I could have folded. I could have quietly packed up the coop and given in. But here's the thing about Karen. She didn't realize just how connected I was. Because when you're the guy who supplies eggs to the entire town, including the diner, the school, and yes, the mayor, you're not just some random homeowner. You're part of the backbone of the community. 2 days later, just as Karen thought she'd won, I hosted a little gathering in my yard. I invited every customer who bought my eggs. Teachers, cooks, neighbors, small business owners. And right there in the middle, shaking my hand like we were old friends, was Mayor Thompson himself. The man stood tall, in his pressed suit and polished shoes, holding a carton of my eggs under one arm like it was a prize trophy. He didn't waste words. He looked around the group of us, then at the board members who had nervously shown up to observe. "These eggs," he said, raising one up for emphasis, "feed half this town. The school breakfast program depends on them. Our diner Sunday brunch depends on them. Even my own household depends on them." Karen's face turned redder than a ripe tomato. "This is against the bylaws," she snapped. "The HOA rules are clear." The mayor smiled the kind of smile only a politician can. "Actually, Karen, the bylaws don't supersede city ordinances." And as it turns out, he pulled a folded paper from his coat pocket. The city council just approved an emergency ordinance legalizing backyard poultry for any property over half an acre. Retroactive, effective immediately. The crowd erupted in applause. Karen wasn't done. She tried to argue. She threatened lawsuits. She demanded the mayor respect the HOA's authority. But she had no idea what she'd unleashed. By the following week, the local paper ran a headline. "Mayor saves town's egg supply from HOA crackdown." The school board issued a formal letter of thanks. The diner hung a sign by the register that read, proudly serving eggs the HOA couldn't kill. And the HOA board? They quietly voted to amend the bylaws, carving out a very specific exception for chicken coops under 30 birds, provided they meet city ordinances. In other words, my chickens were here to stay. But that wasn't the real revenge. The real revenge came when the mayor asked me to expand. He wanted me to start supplying not just the school and the diner, but other city facilities too. Fire stations, hospitals, senior centers. Suddenly, I wasn't just a guy with a chicken coop. I was the official egg supplier of the city. And every time Karen drove past my property, she had to see the new sign I hung proudly by the coop. Certified city supplier, by order of the mayor. So yeah, the HOA tried to kill my chickens. Instead, they turned me into the biggest name in town. All thanks to Karen. Tell me, what's the most ridiculous thing an HOA or Karen has ever tried to ban in your neighborhood? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your story in the comments.